I searched high and I searched low, and I searched the entire internet, all news articles in the world at my disposal, as long as they're on the internet. And on October 24th, 2024, an article was written. This is from Boulder, Colorado.
Okay.
Oh, the location makes it make more sense.
And the date? What did you say that already?
October 24th, 2024.
Wow.
So this is relevant. This is 2 days old. Okay.
For us now, yeah.
For us at this time of recording.
Of course.
All right. 5 elephants.
Elephants.
Elephants in the Colorado Zoo could someday sue for their freedom.
That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah. If the state's Supreme Court sides with an animal rights group and declares them persons under the law.
Wow.
But first, the justices had a few questions about cats and dogs.
Just those animals. Okay.
Just the fact they were trying to get personhood for animals.
Yeah.
But not for babies.
But not unborn babies. Yes,
but not
correct.
for babies.
Yeah.
Do we not see what's going on here? This is unbelievable, ridiculous. Anyway, let's move on.
Yeah.
I will say, if you think an elephant has more rights than an unborn baby, you are missing something. But let's move on. How do I know when it stops? Justice Melissa Hart said during Thursday's hearing, wondering whether this ruling might someday lead to emancipating people's pets. At stake whether the elephants from the Cheyenne Mountain Zoo could be treated as people under the law. It was a question asked several times, but never really answered. I could have an answer for it. The Non-Human Rights Project, the Non-Human Rights Project says the elephants, Missy, Kimba, Lucky, Lulu, and Jambo, should be able to use a long-held process that's mainly for prisoners to dispute their detention. The group says the animals born in the wild in Africa are showing signs of brain damage. Not the only ones, because the zoo is essentially a prison for such intelligent and social creatures.
Well, okay, there's some truth there, right? It could be that we could do better of taking care of God's creatures. It could be. I'll throw a bone there.
I'm not going to argue that.
I'll throw a bone.
I don't know the condition of the zoo.
Yeah.
And I would not want to be in a cage. I'm also not an animal. But anyway, moving on.
Fair enough.
Showing signs of brain damage because they're in the zoo. They're intelligent and social creatures, which elephants are intelligent for animals.
Yeah, they're awesome.
And they're also social. That's why they come in groups. And that's why they got 5 of them. See, they were thinking about things like social. Anyway, known to roam for miles a day, which is, I think, also true, right? Obviously, a caged animal is not as probably as happy as an uncaged animal. I don't think anyone would argue that. Although zoos are still fun to go to and see the animals. But moving on, they want the animals released to one of the 2 accredited elephant sanctuaries in the United States. Which, by the way, are also fenced in. Because the group doesn't think they can live in the wild anymore. That makes sense, right? If you're going to release them, you couldn't just turn them back to the wild. Yeah, that's probably a legitimate concern.
Definitely.
So we're not discussing that even.
We're not going to bash
idea
everything.
that they're going to get personhood rights.
Yes.
The group unsuccessfully sued in 2022 on behalf of an elephant at the Bronx Zoo named Happy. The highest court in New York ruled that Happy, while intelligent and deserving of compassion, cannot be considered a person who is illegally confined with the ability to pursue a petition seeking release. The New York ruling said giving such rights to an elephant would have an enormous destabilizing impact on modern society.
Yeah.
You think?
Yeah.
The Cheyenne Mountain Zoo says moving the elephants and potentially placing them with new animals could be cruel at their age.
Wow.
possibly causing unnecessary stress. It says they aren't used to being in larger herds, and based on this experience, they don't have the skills or desire to join one.
Oh,
how would you know if they have a desire? Anyway,
there might be ways. Maybe, I'm not sure.
The elephant whisperer knows, right? The justices will issue a ruling in the coming weeks or months. During the hearing, sounds like the government. I'll get to it someday. During the hearing, the group's lawyer, Jake Davis, urged the justices to focus on the 5 individuals he represents. He asked them to rule that the elephants can pursue a habeas corpus petition and send the case back to a lower court, which would consider the petition and decide if the animals should leave the zoo. However, he did say domesticated animals like dogs, which are familiar with lounging on the couch, in a much different category than wild animals.
Yeah.
Justice Maria Birkenkotter said Davis beautifully and painfully described the elephant's rocking behavior. Little rock stars, which the group says shows distress.
Okay.
But she wondered if the group should instead be try changing the law at the state legislature or passing a ballot measure to protect the elephants. Chief Justice Monica Marquez pressed the zoo's attorney on a main point made by the animal rights group, that the right to habeas corpus has been extended over the years, such as to enslave people and women in abusive marriages.
What? Interesting.
Yeah. These elephants are getting personhood, I'm telling you. All those extensions were made to human beings, countered John Souther, a former U.S. attorney and Colorado attorney general who represented the Jew. He pointed to Happy's case in New York, where the judges ruled that the right to challenge detention belongs to human beings because they are humans who can be held accountable by the legal system. This court, no court, is a proper venue for what they're trying to accomplish, he said. So,
interesting.
Stay tuned, everybody, over the next weeks or possibly months as we
to see if these elephants gain personhood.
As we anxiously await the personhood of elephants in that decision. So
that's crazy.
Yeah, there's a whole bunch in there as far as like worldview goes, but it's back to treating people worse than animals. So. I think the Bible talks about that a couple times, but anyway.
Yep.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
That is our news for today. Hopefully that enlightened your afternoon, and you are now smarter for having heard that.
Okay.
Most likely not.
It's a good talking point for people. It can help bring in more important, very important discussions. Yeah. And
the discussion could have been, hey, these animals might be better off in a larger area.
Right.
It's good discussion.
Yeah, let's take care of them.
Let's make these animals persons to be protected under the law.
Right.
That's a whole nother conversation.
Right.
But, to the legal world, if you're making a lawsuit, sometimes you go extreme and then you can always pull her back. Right. So the negotiation thing.
I guess there's that, but
that may be the strategy, but it doesn't seem to be, because they've tried the same thing in another, court, and I want to make this a person. So anyway.
Right. Okay. Well,
anyway, let's moving on.
Let's get on to the